And as always, your views and comments are welcome on this program. Just go to Twitter and look for Joy News on TV. Drop your comments with the hashtag #ThePulse. If you are a Facebooker, there's space for you. Just search for Joy News on Facebook. Drop your comments, and we'll be glad to share your thoughts with the rest of the world. We will stick to our new logo. That's the statement by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, to critics who say the Commission's decision to change its logo is misplaced. Now, earlier this year, the EC came under fire for changing the logo, which originally had the country's coat of arms. Many also accused the Commission of plagiarism, pointing to a Turkish company which had a similar logo. While addressing stakeholders today, including political party representatives and the media in Accra, the EC chairman said her outfit is happy with its new logo. We'll bring you that shortly. But she also spoke largely about the pillars on which she has rolled out a 5-year strategic plan for the Electoral Commission.
It starts from this year, 2016, and ends in 2020. Particularly for the Commission members, the 7 of us, it's a very exciting day for us. We believe that our biggest assignment as members of the Commission is to set the strategic direction of the Commission. Sometime in 2015, the process started. Consultants were put in place. They started a deep process of engagement. They talked to all the people that the Electoral Commission works with. They looked at previous election observation reports. They talked to our staff. They talked to political parties. They talked to governance institutions, security agencies, civil society. They talked to the EC commissioners. They talked to management. They talked to everyone who had anything to do with our work, to find out what exactly should the EC be doing better. What are they doing well? What can they improve? What are the areas of strength? What are the areas of weaknesses? After that, an interim report was presented to the Commission. We sat with our directors, we validated the report, and then we started the process of aligning the findings and recommendations and consulting all our internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. We also looked at what are other electoral commissions doing. We studied the strategic plans of other electoral commissions. In putting together a strategic plan, we decided as a commission that we would look at 5 key areas. These are our mandates. We came to the conclusion that we really needed to look more closely at our mandates and see how do we organize better so that we can ensure that we deliver even more effectively on the mandate. And we decided that we will not just focus on delivering on the elections. Our mandate is more than the elections. Look at the mandate of the Commission very carefully. We have regulatory oversight over political parties. We don't just give them certificates.
So that's the chairman of the Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, explaining the rationale for the 5-year strategic plan that the EC is rolling out today. I'll bring you details of that as captured in the 50-page document shortly. But the matter that many have been looking out for today has been the controversial issue of the new logo of the EC. Well, today she explained cogently what the new logo signifies.
We did not open up invitations for people to send logos in because, as we explained, the logo has to represent where we're going to as a brand and as an institution. So it's not just about putting colors together. It had to represent something. We were also benchmarking internationally. We did look at logos of other electoral commissions. And it's important that we work very closely with other electoral commissions. They visit us, we look at their strategic plans, we exchange information, we study visits are always going on. So there is a process. A logo is not just an artistic competition. It has to stand for something. We went through a process, and no, my husband did not design it. He's not a graphic artist. We went through a process, and I'm not even the only one married to a graphic artist, by the way. We went through a process in terms of developing the brand and what we wanted the brand to stand for. We engaged internally. We made inquiries. We had people bring. We selected as a commission. And that's why I said we selected it and we like it. If the Turkish
Educational Institute,
we plagiarized their logo,
that is the claim.
Then they certainly have rights under the law. we don't feel we've plagiarized their logos. And if you look internationally, there are many logos that look
But
alike.
have you seen that logo, by the way?
I have. I don't think it looks like mine. I like mine better. So we like it. We are comfortable as a commission that it represents the values and the brand we want and the image we want to portray, and it supports our strategic direction.
Well, that's the chairperson of the Electoral Commission explaining the reasons for which they came out with that decision to choose that logo representing their new path in their rebranding of the commission. Kwacha Afreniama covered the launch of the strategic plan for the EC and also the new logo that was outdoor today, and he joins me now in the studio. Afre, we know a lot of things were talked about today, but let's go through it one after the other. What were first some of the new things we saw at the launch today?
One of the key ones concerns the Electoral Commission's decision as part of this 5-year strategic plan to introduce what they've described as a fully functional legal department. Of course, over the past few years, that's been one of the major concerns. In fact, when during the time some members of the MPP sued the Electoral Commission after the 2012 election, the conduct of their lawyers, Mr. Kwashi Aidan and co, raised concerns about their preparedness and how abreast they were of the operations of the Electoral Commission. And as background to this, the Electoral Commission says that moving forward, they are going to set up this fully functional legal department to deal with all cases, suits against the commission, all legal matters, in fact, to ensure that we do not have that situation. And one of the other things that the Electoral Commission intends doing as a means of raising revenue is to engage, offer its services to other countries in terms of advice, in terms of helping them to conduct their elections, countries that are not as democratically advanced as Ghana, particularly relating to the conduct of elections in those countries to generate revenue for the Electoral Commission. But one of the important issues that came up, key questions that was asked concerning the logo, was about the cost. And the chairperson of the Electoral Commission could not immediately at the time provide that information. She said that she didn't have that readily at hand. And the reason she gave was that relating to the cost directly, they will have to rebrand some of their vehicles and all that, and that will add up to the sum total of what it will cost them. But she talked about the source of funding for this. She mentioned some donor partners who provided money to them to undertake this exercise.
But again, she did not mention how much these donor agencies are giving the commission to do this.
How much
they did
the
not.
Donor agencies are
Okay.
given.
That's something that we'll clearly interrogate later on. But Afre, we also know that the matter of cleaning up the voters register also came up during the launch and during the Q&A session with journalists today. What was her response?
In fact, already we know that the election, one of the key recommendations of the panel, the panel, the Justice VCRAC crowd panel, is to audit the register. We know that at the last IPAC meeting, the EC asked the political parties to present their various proposals on how this auditing can be done. So in fact, that is one of the key ways that they intend doing that now, collating the views of the political parties on how they can go in that regard. But there was an interesting proposal that the Electoral Commission moving forward should consider as a means of verifying the details of people who register, use the BEC certificates. The Electoral Commission says that that is one of the things that you will take into consideration. But of course, the question can be asked, genuinely, rightly so, that not all persons who are qualified to vote have a BEC certificate. So along the lines of processes and means they're adopting to clean the register, she talked about this, looking at the proposal from the political parties, and also with the cleaning the register through by using the IT experts who the Electoral Commission has already contracted
hired to do the job. Let's just bring you some of the highlights of what the EC chairman said in relation to how the commission will look at cleaning the voters register.
We are cleaning with all the parties, and the point of including everybody, it's a collaborative process, it is a transparent process, it is an inclusive process, and above all, it's a legal process. There is agreement at IPAC. At that time, we had 24 parties represented at IPAC. We've just registered, licensed a new one. There is agreement at IPAC as to the process and the mechanisms for auditing and cleaning of the register. However, there are also cases pending at the Supreme Court. So in spite of the agreements at IPAC, we cannot go ahead and finalize those agreements or implement them. And we're even going to implement them during the exhibition period. That's what was agreed at IPAC. But we have to await the outcome of the Supreme Court cases. It's respectful and it is proper. When the Supreme Court makes a pronouncement, then we can finalize at IPAC. But at the IPAC level, we've engaged extensively. They know the process we want to adopt. They have agreed that those processes make sense, because we also have to look at the challenges, perceived or real, with the register. And you must make sure that the processes you're putting in place address those specific challenges, which brings to the question of 500,000 names, 600,000 names on the register that need to be deleted. If we knew, that would be so much easier, because it would mean that we have the evidence. I cannot tell you how many. It's a register of over 14 million people currently. None of us here can tell you that we have 100,000 deceased persons on the register. I don't know that. It's only when people bring evidence to the centers that this family member has passed on, this is the evidence of the death. Then we can take that evidence, and based on that evidence, we can now say we're removing the names of deceased persons off the register.
Right then, so that's the Madam Charlotte Osei, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, explaining what the details are in terms of what the Commission seeks to do in rebranding and also looking ahead into the next 5 years with its strategic plan. Kwacha Afreniam is still with me in the studio. Afre, for that plan that today they launched, that 5-year plan, sitting through the session today, what was the import of what they are seeking to achieve with this 5-year strategic plan?
Key among the issues that the Electoral Commission wants to address with this strategic plan, they talk about changing public perception about the commission. Now, how Mrs. Charlotte Osei says they intend doing this is to engage more with the two major stakeholders. That's the political parties and the voters. In the past, there have been concerns that usually from opposition political parties that the Electoral Commission is not transparent enough, and also from voters about how some of the processes leading to elections are conducted. Mrs. Charlotte Osei says that they want to engage more with these two major stakeholders to ensure that these concerns are erased in the future. Again, she talks about how they manage, they intend managing their resources in the future, because one of the main issues that comes up every election year or before the Electoral Commission undertakes a major exercise like a limited registration exercise, and mainly the general elections, is about not having enough funds. She mentions the fact that moving forward, this strategic plan is to ensure that they are better able to manage the limited resources that they have. And in the past, what we've seen the EC do, for example, and this year, for instance, the amount of money that they requested from government was not enough, so they've had to cut down on the number of polling stations that they intend to undertake these elections. And so this is all part of the 50-page document and plans that they intend moving forward to deal with some of the key challenges that they faced over the years. Okay,
thank you, Kwacha Afreniam, with those details of what he was able to glean within these hours from the Electoral Commission at their launch at the Best Western Premier Hotel today. It's found at airport in Accra. Now, we'll shortly look through the plan and bring you the key highlights in that 50-page document, which you find on the EC's website, ec.gov.gh. That's where you find the documents of the 5-year strategic plan. We will get to it shortly. But we know also that today the EC boss has been speaking specifically about the cost of this rebranding that the EC is going through. We'll bring you that highlights, and then we'll take you through the key highlights of the 5-year strategic plan?
People have to understand that we work within a budget. The EC is independent, but is also subject to laws. So we go through audits. We're audited by the Auditor General, and they go and they look and they make sure we've gone through right process, due process. We've spent within budget. We don't just have unlimited funds. And a lot of the reform process going on is also supported by donors, because donors have been working with us and trying to help us ensure that we finish the internal reforms, because we keep putting electoral reforms on top of the same structure. The structure must support the reforms and the things, how you're carrying your mandates. And so there's a lot of donor support for the internal reforms that are going on.
Right, so that's the chairman of the Electoral Commission, Madam Charlotte, explaining what went into the cost of rebranding and bringing out the new logo for Ghana's election management body. Let's take you to some of the details in the 50-page document that was launched today at the program, and we can look at the pillars that make up this new plan that they've put up today. And going through it this afternoon, some of the things they mentioned in the strategic plan, if it could be scrolled up for me to just read them right now. They first talk about developing all stakeholder relationships. Now with that, they say that they are defining the EC brand proposition and they are creating a clear and consistent communications framework which repositions the EC across all stakeholders as delivering a trusted, independent election. The second pillar is to focus on their election mandate, which is to ensure that quality infrastructure, logistics, facilities, and strategic planning are implemented to deliver elections accepted by all. The third is organizing processes for delivery of the first two, which is to transform the effectiveness and efficiency of the Commission through the deployment of world-class technology solutions throughout the organization to support their internal and external processes. Their fourth point and their fourth pillar for their 5-year strategic plan is to engage their people. And by doing that, they will create an environment where their people will thrive and excel. They will build a culture of engagement throughout the Commission. And they'll do this through effective communication, career planning, capacity building, and what they call a 360 performance management solutions. The fifth is leveraging on their resources. You've already heard our friend mention that they've always worked within a very limited budget, and so they will supplement their financial requirements by developing additional and revenue streams, and these streams will be related actually to the training and development of election-related services in Ghana and across the region through the effective use of technology and the optimization of their processes. They will also drive effective and efficient use of all their available resources. And with this, I'm sure one of the things that you ask yourself is, how much will each project and every process they will go through in a run-up to this year's election as part of their 5-year plan, what will it entail, how much will it cost, and how do they intend to carry through the plan that they have for today? A lot also has gone into the discussion they've had today in this 50-page document. When one thing they pull out quite clearly is their vision. One will ask, for the rebranded EC, what is their new vision in providing quality elections, free and fair and credible elections for Ghana? Let me just go through that for you right now. They're saying their vision is to be the benchmark in Africa for enabling independent, trusted, world-class democratic elections for citizens alike. And if you look at the arrow that goes down, it says it runs through into their mission, which is their job at the EC, to deliver on the electoral mandate, enable and facilitate free and fair elections in Ghana, and regulate the activities of all registered political parties. At the last count, with the APC joining, it's now 25 registered political parties in the country today. Their objectives are 4, and I'll just go through them shortly for you right now. They will ensure that their mandate is delivered and managed legally, transparently, and fairly. Also, they will ensure that the EC is legally and functionally independent. Third, they will develop and maintain a relationship of trust and credibility with citizens, parties, state institutions, and other stakeholders. And finally, they will ensure that the EC operates efficiently, effectively, and to world-class standards. This word has been used quite predominantly in the 50-page document of providing world-class elections. We'll see how this plan goes, but I've already taken you through the pillars, and that's what you see there, 5 clearly tabulated there. And then the outcome will be to deliver independent, trusted, world-class elections in Ghana. That's for the 5-year plan and what it seeks to achieve, the vision, the mission, and where they seek to get to by the year 2020 in delivering what they call world-class elections for us here in Ghana, be it at the presidential level, at the parliamentary level, or even at the assembly level, where we know the party actually manages all elections in the country today. Let's now talk about the logo, one that has caused a lot of controversy in the past 1 month in the build-up to the launch of it today. Let's just go to it right about now. This is actually the vision for it and what it seeks to achieve. We've already been through what the vision actually is. But the logo is one thing I mentioned earlier. It's quite a lot of controversy. There was talk about what this new logo means, what was wrong with the old one since it was created in 1968, what has made it necessary today with just a few months to the 2016 elections to change the view of the Electoral Commission today. Let me just take you through it right now. And it's titled Our New Identity. Now, it explains that in developing their strategy, which is the 5-year strategic plan, as an immediate area of possible change and reinvigoration is the reflection of the intent of where they want to be in the next 5 years. And so let me just take you through what each symbol that we're seeing for the new logo of the EC actually represents today. The circle represents unity, singular and unified in its purpose. It represents the country's democracy. The blue, which is in that circle, represents the stability and independence of Ghana's Electoral Commission. The inward moving arrows reflect all the people of Ghana equally coming together for the common purpose, the right to select their political leadership. That's for the inward moving arrows. Some have called it the Wheel of Fortune. Today, you have a clearer understanding of what these inward moving arrows represent. And then, of course, the colors you see for the small dots in the logo you see, red, gold, and green, represent the colors of the country, red, gold, and green. The whole identity represents, for the Electoral Commission, a unified purpose and vision and demonstrates their independence as an institution. And they're saying that we are not a government institution and we are demonstrating our independence by not using the coat of arms that is representative of our government. And today, the EC chairperson, Madam Charlotte Osei, made it very clear when she was addressing the launch today that they do not have that job of a legal authority in running Ghana. And so this logo represents their identity and what they do in terms of handling elections in the country today. I'll just move on to one more thing in the plan, which is quite interesting considering what the relaunch is for the Electoral Commission as against the things we should be looking out for step by step in the calendar for the 2016 elections. And that's about the function of the chairperson, Madam Charlotte Osei, in the run-up to this election. Many have been asking questions as to what's her role in this new rebranded EC, what is she supposed to do. Then we can hold her to account when the things she's supposed to do are done, and when they are not done, why it's not being done. We can ask the key questions and direct it clearly to what her plan is for the next 5 years. And we'll get to that shortly. We'll also do a risk analysis, which are the things that the Commission feels will hamper their ability to deliver on the plan. Let's first talk about the organizational structure. And Afrem made mention of a new legal department that they've set up. But let me take you through what the role and the specific job of the Electoral Commission chairperson will be as detailed in their own strategic plan. It says, first of all, that they will execute their main functions as outlined in the Constitution and the Electoral Commission Act of 1993 by 1, ensuring successful delivery of presidential, parliamentary, local government, statutory, and industry elections. The chairperson will ensure a high level of confidence of the public in the electoral register, which will mean that for the entire debate we're seeing today over Ghana's voters register, her job principally will be to ensure that all of us have a high level of confidence in Ghana's electoral roll. So, in November, when the elections happen, we will have reason to say the commissioner made it clear to us what will account for a free, fair, and credible elections in the country. Again, she says that the availability of required financial resources is her job as chairperson of the commission. Also, prudent management of funds released for EC operations for government and development partners will be her job, her principal duty, to provide the management of funds for the Electoral Commission. And then the efficient administration of elections through technologically optimized process, efficiency from a skilled workforce. Now, the head of the ARIC, which is the Compliance Financial Administration Act 2013, will be one of the things that she will look at clearly in her role and mandate in chairing Ghana's election management body. That's for the Electoral Commission. We'll do the risk analysis and some more scrutiny into this 50-page document for the EC strategic plan later on in this week, or even later on this evening on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. At this point, we'll go for a break. There's more we can digest on this. We'll do some analysis later on in the course of the program. But we'll also put the thoughts of the man who's leading the All People's Congress. I'm talking about Mr. Hassan Ayariga. He's joining us this afternoon here on The Pulse to tell us what his vision is as the newly registered political party, what he seeks to do differently to ensure that this year's elections will be one to look out for. Details after the break. Stay with us.